Hey everyone, we are live. I'm Anna McKinley and I'm very excited to be chatting today to the awesome Kristen Alwine, who is otherwise known as the Alignment CFO. So I know there are a few of you who are planning to join us live. Welcome along to everyone who's watching. So if you are here live, drop us a live in the chat so that we know you're there. It's great to have you here. What we're talking about today is alignment, cash flow, and growth. So I'm Anna McKinley. I absolutely love helping women who run their businesses from home to be able to achieve those business goals and also have great relationships, great well-being, and create a life that they love. And so there's a bit of an overlap with what Kristen does, which is why I thought it would be fun. This is the first of our Manifestation Monday series, which is chats with fun people who who can share their own experience and insight on how we can manifest our goals, create the business and lives that we love and that bring us joy. So welcome to all those who are here live. Again, just drop a live in the chat and let us know where you're joining from. If you are joining on Facebook and you want us to be able to see who you are, then you will need to connect with Restream. You can have the option to do that at the link I've just dropped below. But let's get started. Welcome, Kristen. How are you today?
I am fantastic. How are you?
Always awesome. Always awesome.
True.
Always awesome. Easy to remember. Yeah, but let's talk about you because you've got some fantastic stories to share. We were chatting yesterday about some of what's been happening and the evolution that Kristen has gone through to become the Alignment CFO, and there's some really fun stuff there. So, Kristen, let me open up to you. How did you become the Alignment CFO?
How did I become the Alignment CFO? Well, it was started by the fact that, first off, just so you know, I am in the United States. And after leaving school as an accountant, I kind of worked my way up the corporate ladder to become a CFO. And I took a little zigs and zags. In between there, I had my daughter, and when she was younger, I actually had my own accounting and consulting practice. So I kind of school, public accounting, went out, decided to be a controller, went out and then had my own business when she was a year until about 9. And then when she turned 9, I got this itch that I wanted to go back into corporate. So went back into corporate, did, CFO, growing, changing. And this is where the whole cash flow comes in because it's how I turned a lot of companies around by doing cash flow projections and found out how important they truly are, no matter what size you are. And then did that for about 10 years and then said, you know what, I'm going back out on my own. But I didn't want to come back as a traditional CFO. So I've done a whole lot of mindset and work in between. And I love just between law of attraction, the universe, science, physics, putting it all together, right? So, how does it all work? How does it relate to money? How does it relate to your business? So, taking a totally different stance from the traditional, you know, chief financial officer. So now I am the chief freedom officer. So therefore, because when you ask people, right, what do they want? They want freedom. How do they normally think about getting freedom? Increase their cash flow, right? So I was talking with a friend of mine, and then it was also like, what does chief financial officer mean, right? How big of a business do you need to be to supposedly have even an interim, right? Whereas checking and monitoring and looking at your cash flow, you can be making $1,000 a year. You could be making $10,000 a year, right? There is an energetics of the money, that by tracking it and knowing where it's going and knowing what your expenses are automatically helps shift and helps increase your
Yeah.
cash flow,
Now you
right?
were talking about this yesterday, and I'd love for everyone watching because this is one of the biggest challenges, right? Especially for small business people who are wearing a lot of hats, and if we've got any issues around money mindset, often there's some resistance around doing the money stuff, and so it gets swept under
Mhm.
the rug until it's tax time or something like that, and then it's like, oh, right. So I would love it if you could dig a little bit more into what you were talking to me about yesterday around that. It was almost like a money mindset set point
Mhm.
process discovered.
Right. So, a lot of people get hung up on the money, right? And, honestly, I know I grew up and you didn't talk about money, right? You didn't talk about what you made. You, you didn't ask, right? There was this whole you don't talk about money, right? And now here you are as an entrepreneur, and there's that kind of unwritten, unspoken that you supposedly know about money, that you just automatically know how to run money and manage your money because you're an entrepreneur. And it doesn't necessarily go hand in hand, and even understanding your numbers. As I said, when I was a chief financial officer, I did it for multi-million dollar companies. And I would literally sit with the CEO and have to go through and explain the numbers to them. And I think there's this mindset that, oh, I should just know. And therefore, we don't want to talk about it
Mhm.
because it's embarrassing if I tell somebody I'm running a business and I don't understand numbers.
Mm.
And I know that wasn't exactly what we were talking about yesterday,
That's
but
fantastic, right?
you know, it's
Mm.
so important, right? So part of my and what I'm really doing now is trying to educate and trying to help business owners just even understand their numbers, right? Understand the importance, understand that seeing where your money's going will actually help the flow of the money.
Yeah,
When
yeah. Sorry. Keep
Right? Like, because of the fact money loves to know where it's going and how you're using it, right? And therefore, if you lay it all out, there's an increase, right, of money coming in to make sure that it's covering where you're what you're spending on it, but it needs to know, right? And if
Mhm.
you don't know, the universe does not know.
Right, right, right. And this is like one of those fundamental manifestation principles, right? Is that we need to be clear about what it is that we're manifesting, about the
Mhm.
energy of that. And what I'm hearing is it's almost like money wants to be in on that with us,
Yes.
in the sense that it's got to have a sense of meaning and purpose around showing up.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
this energetics of money, can you unpack a bit more for us what you've learned through your path? Because you're explaining to me how your ability to allow more income in just kept kind of growing incrementally as you advance, and it just kind of it sounded like it evolved almost naturally because you expected it.
Ah, yes. Right. So there is, that idea, and it is like that next right step, right?
Mm.
Well, when it comes to money and it comes to earning money, there's that next right step, that next comfortable step, right? Where you can get into, some I don't want to say issues, but where people get hung up is, let's say you're used to making, we'll just throw out a number, right? Let's say you're used to making $15 an hour. And then you're like in your own business, and everybody's like, you charge this and you charge that. And at least, especially in the United States, it's the 10K months and everything. Well,
Mhm.
if you're not used to that increment, that's a big shift that you need to make, right? So when if you looked at my corporate career, I got 10 when I was in public accounting, every year I got 10% raises. But there was that expectation and that known, right? So if I was making this, my raise was going to be this. My salary was going to bump up, right? And then it would bump up a little more and it would bump up even more, right? And as I went in my career, it continuously grew where I didn't walk out of college making one amount and the next year making 12 times the amount, right? There was a time and it was a gradual process that it basically felt like the next right step, right?
Mm.
It was that next thing, right? So when I talk to business owners, let's just say your revenue it tends to be $1,000 a month, right? Whatever it is, we're just picking out numbers, right? So
Mhm.
then and you do 1,000 and you're comfortable with 1,000 and you have an expectation and you know it's going to show up. You're not always sure how, but you just have that knowing and you set kind of that bar that it's always going to be 1,000. Well, then you set it to 1,500 or 2,000 and then you go to 3,000 and then you go to 4, right? And you get some consistency and you get very secure in the expectation that this is happening, right? It's just already, and it's not that, I'll go to business owners and, when I'm talking with clients and I'm like, what would happen if you all of a sudden had $10,000 a month? And if I get oh my God, like my world, well, you're not ready
Yeah.
for it, right? There's too big of a jump. When I hit certain salaries, if you had told me that when I was 20 something, I would have been like, what? Wow, that's a lot of money. When I hit that salary, it wasn't a lot of money. Even though it technically was, it didn't feel like a lot of money to me
Mhm,
at
mm.
all. It just felt like I was here and now I'm getting this bump, right? And I told you yesterday, like one of the times, one of the bumps that I got ended up being, you know, what I didn't tell you is it ended up being like a $40,000 bump, but I thought it was going to be 20, right? And this was moving from one job to another. And they came back with an offer, which I was just blown away by, with another 20,000 on top of it. So I went with, but at the same time, part of why it all worked is I really knew that that's where I really should have been, right? So
Yeah.
I was really comfortable with that extra $40,000. It didn't phase me. I didn't walk around going, oh my God, right? I just went with, hey, I got an extra $40,000. This is amazing.
Yep.
I love the fact that, they obviously, as an organization, because I had put in my request lower than that, they could have just given me lower. So was so appreciative that they gave me the amount that technically the person before me in that position that it
Mm.
was budgeted for. Right. And I was like, just totally appreciative of that. And I didn't second guess it.
Yeah.
And therefore,
Beautiful things in there that are just popping up, which I'd love to just, kind of reflect back. You're reminding me a little bit of Abraham Hicks, I have to say. So for those of us who are watching, because 'cause you're sort of
I
weaving.
wonder why.
I mean, there's a couple of things where there's what you're saying is that it's got to align with our self-image of what's possible for us, because
Hmm.
if not, we'll go, "Ah," and we just won't actually be able to show up consistently with it, and it's going to affect our alignment with our physical reality. And it's kind of the same thing as when we're trying to increase our confidence or expand our comfort zone with things. If we do it all at once, we crash and burn. If we just do a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, or like going to the gym and building a muscle. But you were reminding me of a
Exactly.
story Abraham Hicks told once about Esther, which was about some big goal that Esther had set, not really a goal, a desire that she put out there. She doesn't do the goal thing, but she'd had the desire, and at the time that she had it was like, oh wow, 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 wow. But she put it out there, and she let things unfold at their right pace. If she'd got it straight away, it would have been like you were saying about the money. It would have been, oh my goodness, this is so huge. But when it
Hmm.
actually happened, it was like, oh yeah,
Right.
Kind of expected it. Didn't seem like such a
Mhm.
big thing, and that's, I think, the thing that a lot of us miss, particularly around money. It's that big thing, and we expect it to be all fireworks, but when we achieve the big goals, if we've allowed it to unfold in a sustainable, aligned way, it's just natural, right?
Mhm.
That's what I'm hearing
Right.
from you. And I'd love to, so what you're saying is that I had that rock solid expectation, and my self-image grew with my money, and my
Mhm.
expectations and therefore my vibration grew with that money. Yeah, is that what you're cool. And that for each of us, actually the key if we want to do the same thing is to take little increments that don't
Mhm.
feel too far outside what's comfortable.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're just going a little bit and a little bit. You're pushing past your comfort, but not enough that, your brain that wants to keep you safe goes, "What
Mhm.
are you doing?" Or that self-doubt,
Yeah.
right? Because you're also going to earn, especially, up to what you think your self-worth is, right? So you need to have that and those both of them to combine. And then of course, definitely working on vibration. And I'm like, that is like right now my biggest thing. As far as, you know, what is my vibration and what is showing up for me, right? And
Yeah.
when you can start mastering that,
Yeah. It's the magic.
everything.
Yeah. And I want to ask you about that. I just want to say a quick welcome to those who have joined us live. And for those who have just joined us, we're talking about alignment, cash flow, and growth, and particularly for the entrepreneurs, right? So I'm talking to Kristen Alwine, who's the Alignment CFO, Chief Freedom Officer. So let's talk about that because I'd love to ask you really what alignment means to you, and I'd like to ask you to unpack that piece around vibration as well, because they're two slightly separate things, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. So I take alignment in a couple of different, probably two different ways, right? It is, I always set up, whether it's goals or destinations. So, which of course feel good, whatever they are. And it can be a monetary, or it could like that you want to hit X amount per month revenue wise, or it could be a house, it could be whatever those goals, desires you want for your life, right? And how is what you're doing today align with those goals, right? What are you doing different in little itty bitty steps each day that align with those goals, right? If you're looking at a business, one of the things that I do with my clients is like, all right, here's that goal. So, what steps do you need to take and how are you aligned with it, right? So that you can, it helps prioritize, it helps set things in motion. Because if you make an assumption that your business, right, is part of your zone of genius, and so that means that you enjoy doing it and you have fun doing it, right? Which is then going to raise your vibration. But doing all the little pieces should be fun in that process of getting to do your zone of genius. I'll
Mm.
get that out
I
right.
love that.
um,
Genius. So, in other words, find the fun in what you're doing. Make sure that we're staying in the zone of genius, and make sure that that's aligned with the goals. So, each
mhm,
decision, each choice, each thing we focus
mhm,
on day by day, hour by hour kind of basis, we want it to be aligned with where we want to go. Is that what you're saying?
correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
beautiful.
Right.
So there's two things that alignment means to you. What's the other meaning for you?
It then goes back to how do you feel? How
Mm,
do you feel about what you're doing? Right. So when I was in public accounting, it's probably the easiest example, I think, for alignment. Right. So
mm,
it's long hours. It's crazy, ridiculous hours. Right. I think at the time, because there were weeks that with traveling and everything was an 80-hour week.
Mhm.
There was a lot of 60-hour weeks, and it wasn't just between January and April, right? It was, you got about 2 months, and that was a lot of the year, right? So you could say that that was work. And to me, if you're not aligned, it's work, it's
Mhm.
hard, it's effort, right? But I loved what I did.
Yeah.
And therefore, by loving what I was doing, it didn't feel like work. If you had asked me 25 years ago, if I won $1 million in the lottery, would I quit my job? I would have said no, because I love what I'm doing, right? And to me, that's alignment. Being in and doing what you absolutely love. And then work doesn't feel like work. Family, nothing feels like that struggle. It just flows,
Yeah.
right?
Find what you love, do it, right?
Hmm.
That zone of genius, and then build around that some frameworks of goals so you're staying in alignment in your action as well. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Fabulous. Fabulous.
And you're having fun.
Yeah.
And then that goes into your vibration,
Yeah.
right?
Which is which is the second piece of it, right? So
Mhm.
you feel that, I mean, you've talked about the energetics of money. So if people are wanting to allow in more money, right? We've got the alignment piece where we're looking at that zone of genius, looking at the goals, finding what I love, having fun doing it. So we've got that alignment piece. In terms of the vibration, to allow more of that money in, or what kind of vibration comes into it? How does that
Well,
play?
so this is just perfect, right?
Mm,
And this even goes more so than kind of what I alluded to last night with you. So,
yeah.
and I've had the feeling and everything, but I can at times feel the energy shifting and the excitement. And I don't know if, you or anybody in the audience, when you get really excited and you literally like feel it through your entire body, that it just feels electrifying. Okay. So last night, I live outside of Philadelphia. Major League Baseball, we're coming down. Last night was the deciding game that the city I live in, they're going to go to the World Series. And yeah, right? And it's exciting. And I'm not even a huge baseball, like, okay, honest. This I watched last night, and that was the first full baseball game I watched all season, right? So this is not, right? It's not. I go, but I don't sit and watch it all the time. But I had that electric goosebumps excitement, right? Feeling.
Mhm, mhm.
And so I have to leave where I live, and I have to actually drive by the stadiums to go where I'm staying with my parents, helping my father out right now. And I drive by the stadium, and it's that the energy. You can feel it, the excitement, right? I almost want to say the last time we were in the World Series was 2008, but I could be wrong on that. But it's not a regular occurrence
Yeah.
for us to be it, right? So it's a big thing for the town. I'm driving, I stop at a rest stop, I'm going out. The kid that's there, he's coming in, he's got a Philly shirt on, he's smiling. I feel that energetics, right? So I have been feeling this like higher than normal, unbelievable, right?
Mhm.
Today I had people calling me like out of the blue saying, "Hey, I know you're doing that program. Can you tell me more about it?" And signing up, right? And I still have corporate headhunters, even though it's been a year, that well, today, all of a sudden, my email, I had like three corporate headhunters. It's that, right? So you can take that, which is what is so absolutely amazing. It had nothing to do, I wasn't thinking about money. I was thinking about feeling good, being happy, raising my vibration, and I'm attracting all this money
Yeah.
coming to me, right? And
And that
people
energy
and
of excitement, right? And excitement and possibility and
mhm,
expansion. Yeah. And
right.
yeah. I want to just pick up on something key that you said there as well, which is I wasn't thinking about money.
Mhm,
And that's part of the magic, right? Is
it
not
is.
thinking about it, is to be, what's the word, unattached, but still being
Correct.
in that state of alignment and focusing on the things that are fun and in alignment with my goals and then present in the moment, doing my tasks,
Mhm,
and or going out and just having fun and being excited and letting my sense of alignment and letting that sense of that vibration of excitement be in my I'll say in my energy, even if it's got
right.
nothing to do with your business.
Mhm. It is all about, and that just comes into that energetics of
Yeah.
money, right? So it's not focusing on it, right? It's also, focusing more on incoming revenue streams attracting than, oh my God, how am I paying this bill? Right? You're never going to attract wealth in fear and worry. So
Mm,
therefore, it's also that focus. But I love the fact, and Abraham Hicks talks about this, right? You can get off the subject, you can go to another area, and your entire life, because it's your vibrational point, you're attracting now that new level and what your expectations are and what you desire at that level of your vibration.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
always,
That's so, so true. So focusing on the vibration, and you said something really important there for us all, which I'm just going to reflect back. And you said you'll never attract wealth if you're in money. So watch your numbers absolutely. Make sure that your money has a sense of purpose and meaning so it knows where it's going to go. You know what the money is going to be used for.
hmm
Not the energetic focus on the attracting the income streams. Is that what you're saying?
hmm yes, right.
That's gold
Because
for anyone watching, by the way.
Mhm,
I'm just saying that's gold for anyone watching, for those of you who are with us live. And
right.
by the way, if you're with us live, just a couple of things. Um, if you're getting any nuggets out of this that you really love, you're very welcome to drop them in the chat. Would love that. And also, if because we are covering a lot, we will be producing show notes with some key salient points from this conversation. So if you want access to the replay or the show notes, just drop notes in the comments on whatever um, social media platform you're watching from. Just drop the word notes and we will make sure you get those because there's a lot of good stuff in here. So coming back to that, Kristen, we've been talking about the energetics and the alignment, but if we could get practical for a moment, right? Sitting listening to this, there's all sorts of good stuff, and people may have heard some of this stuff before, but you're bringing it together very, very beautifully, including the piece about being in alignment with goals, because that's something we often don't talk about when it comes to
hmm
manifestation. So there's some really good stuff in here. What I would love to ask you is, in a very practical sense, how can an entrepreneur and maybe even a solopreneur use these concepts of alignment and vibration to grow their business? What are the keys for you?
So in one, as I said earlier, right? Once you know what those goals are, to get to really focus more on your daily tasks, right? So a lot of times we don't always look that 10,000 feet. We're just today, and we got our head down, and we're checking the check, and we're check box, check box, check box, right? But we can get really caught in spending a lot of time that isn't moving the needle, that's not revenue generating, that if you really sit back and look at it, how important is it?
Mhm.
Right? So that's why, like, I will leave literally my goals on a sticky note in front of me. And when I'm doing my tasks, does it align with one of those goals? Is it going to help me move the needle in that direction with one of those goals? And if it's not, then why am I doing it? Right? Is it something that somebody said I should be doing? it's similar to probably the easiest thing is like if you're on social media, right? There's a number of platforms. Do you need to be on all of them to have a successful business, right? No. So therefore, but if you're doing all the things and you're getting all pulled and you're getting worn out because you're doing all the different platforms, what are your goals? And how is that task really helping you? Or is it actually hurting you and you could replace it or just have free time, right? Do
Mhm.
something else with that time. Have a conversation with somebody that potentially would lead to that sale, right? So always being very conscious of what are you doing in a given day? Because days can turn into weeks, that turns into months, that turns into years, right? And very easily because of the fact that there's so much on autopilot. So just really truly aligning them and looking and being aware at what you're doing. And then it's a matter of when you want to get into that vibration. I tend to start off my day. Um, so I kind of have this like relationship with my website and landing pages and everything. And I've built websites. Built websites 10 years ago, right? So I should not be having all of this.
Mm.
But if I set my intention that I'm going to have all of this, I have all of this, right? If I set my intention that it's going to be easy and it's going to be smooth, the ideas come. I can put together the landing page, like the words all come, but it's setting that initial attention, which is intention, which is also raising my vibration because I'm putting myself at a different level when I start that task, right? And I'm doing a little pre-paving so that
Mm.
the task is smoother, right? And it's easy. And then you get done and you go, wow, that was so easy. Let me go do it again.
Yeah, and of course, that creates that kind of feeling of fun, right? Because we love that sense
Mhm.
of accomplishment, it feels like fun. So
Right.
it's really tough. What I'm thinking of just listening to you is the compound effect.
Mhm.
Because each time we do that, we get better and better at doing I mean, the neuroscience, every time we
Yep.
do or don't do something, we're teaching ourselves to do or not do that thing. We're wiring it into our
Correct.
brain. So each time you're looking at that sticky note and going, "Is what I'm doing aligned with that goal?" You're teaching yourself to be focused on the goal every single time, and you're
Mhm.
wiring that into your brain, and each time you prepave, you're doing the same thing. So, do you notice that effect? I mean, you must see it compounding over time that, gosh, this is just getting easier and easier in some ways.
Mhm. And you get to a point where you don't even think about it,
Mm,
right? It then also becomes on autopilot until you've achieved your goal. And then you come up with it, you push your goal out even further, right? But you also end up hitting your goals faster by doing this because you're more intentional each day to get to where you want to go, right? We
mm,
don't normally get in a car and just go for a drive, right? It's just not normally. We normally have some direction, some place that we're going. And so with our business, with our life, why not have hey, this is where I want to go?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and be focused on that. And what I love is that you talked as well about if when we do this, you create more spare time. So,
Mhm.
we we can use that to do things that are fun and exciting and to create those energetics. Also, it's just we've got this life, so we might as well have fun and do things that are exciting, right? But I'd love
Yes.
to dig into something because you mentioned before that for a about 8 years, I think you said it was, from when your daughter was 1 to when she was 9, you were running
Yes.
it from home, right? So you were doing
Mhm.
that where I'm running and growing a business, I'm serving my clients, I'm raising my child, I'm doing all of that other stuff, which
Yes.
is way challenging for a lot of people. And it's like, oh my goodness, how do I focus on my business and how do I focus on parenting? I bet you've got some, and the spare time thing often comes up in that because it's like I don't ever get any spare time either, or time to do the me time or the self-care that helps us keep our vibration, our alignment high, and helps us keep in a abundant vibration. So yeah, what did you find helped you with all of that balancing?
So at the time, I did not understand the universe the way I do now.
Yeah.
Um, but also at the time, I still ended up being a Homer mom, a Girl Scout leader, a service unit manager to like oversee the entire two towns, plus run my business. Plus, at three, me and my ex-husband got divorced. So it was primarily me as the primary. And, I can sit there and say what I didn't really understand law of attraction or even know anything about it. But at the same time, I always had that, story that we were told the busiest people get more stuff done
Mm,
and are able to do more things. And therefore, and that was part of, honestly, how I was able to move up in my career. Right. So it was my belief pattern that
mm,
was helping me, not knowing that that's really what it was at the time. Right. Would I go back now that I know what I know? Yeah, I would change a few things. But I was still able to do all of it and change and move. And she, got what she needed as far as my daughter in growing up. And I provided for the house and I did all of that. And I didn't really think twice about what what else or what I was missing. Like we
mm,
did go on vacations, not necessarily as many. And this is where law of attraction would have helped because I did still have that scarcity. Where was the next client coming from at that point in time? Right. If I realized that I would always, like I do now, I know there's always another client. I know there's always enough. That would have changed that perspective that I had at the time. So I didn't necessarily always take as many vacations because there was some of that going on. But obviously, if I still, I ran her troop, I ran another troop on top of it. We went camping every weekend. We did all of the stuff. When it came to my own stuff, I still went to the gym. Riley went with me. I still got my nails done. Riley went with me. So there wasn't, there were, her father did have part custody. So I did get some time to myself at that point. But a lot of it was it just was, right? I still took care of myself. I probably was in better shape than I am now. I ate better
yeah.
because I was taking care of her and making sure I wanted her to eat healthy, so I ate healthy, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. But there's some key things that if I can just reflect back coming out of that is the importance of the stories we tell ourselves. Busy people get
mhm,
more done as opposed to, oh, it's impossible to be able to do
right,
everything as a working mum, which is a belief that some of us are told us, some people are told as well, or that it's really hard or whatever. Um, so picking your beliefs very carefully. And as well as that, there was in what you just said, an acceptance of this is how this is the way things are. So
mhm,
make the most, not even just make the most of it. What I'm hearing from you is really just that acceptance. This is the way it is, and just just do it. Is
right.
that yeah.
One of the things that I will say that has always helped, whether it be in my career or in my life, or you know, leaving that controller position and going out on your own. And everybody says, well, that's scary and that's uncertainty and that's this and that's everything as far as having your own business. And I'm like, no, I can do it. Right. There
Yeah,
was always that belief, which even this time when I went out on my own, I was like, well, I did it before.
yeah.
I'm doing it differently, but I can still do it. Right. So it's that belief in myself that
Mm,
is so important.
yeah. And for those watching as well, we're going to wrap up with some practical tips, and we'll be wrapping up in about 5 or 10 minutes with some practical tips and things that you can do. But I would just love to ask you, Kristen, you said that now, knowing what you know now, if you could go back, there are some things that you would have changed. And that was particularly with reference to knowing what I know about how we create our reality. There's some things I
Mhm.
would have done differently.
Yeah. So it always worked that I always got and had clients, right? But there were times that were more busy than
Mm,
other times, right? And I didn't realize at the time I could have, in my head, right? Because of the fact that I came from public accounting, because I came from an accounting background, and because the way even public accounting was basically January through October, because of June year ends and December year ends, right? That was busy. And then October to January was like nothing, right? So for a long time, that's what I saw. So when I was out on my own, that's what I saw. And I kept repeating
yeah.
that, not knowing that I could actually change that. And also not realizing at the time how supported we are, and that the universe always has my back, and that there always would have been a new client. So if I had taken more vacations in during that time, it there always would have been, right? And it actually didn't, like, my daughter did competition cheer, and I always had the money. I always had, but didn't put all of that together, right? I didn't understand how all of it worked. Um,
Hindsight's
it
wonderful.
just happened, right? And it's really crazy now looking back, going, "Oh, that was that, and that happened." And here I was doing it, and I didn't even know I was doing it.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. It's absolutely huge. And with that in mind, I mean, if thinking about um, the entrepreneur or the solopreneur who's listening in and going, yeah, yeah, cash flow. Oh, I want more cash flow, but I'm feeling stuck around cash flow. And I know you talk to people about this all day, right? Cash
Mhm.
flow is king, as they say. I'm feeling stuck about more cash flow. What you're saying makes sense, but what do I do? What advice or tips would you give to others in that position?
So, if you're not already doing it, tracking your expenses,
Yeah.
and look back and track and put in your business expenses and put in your business income, right? And also take a look at what your programs are, what your pricing is, right? And what are you doing to generate more income? And start focusing more on that income, right? There's a couple of different things, and you've got to really look at what are your stories around money,
Mm,
right? There's a lot of people, if you went from an hourly wage, sometimes have difficulty equating it to what an online space would be more like a consulting pay, right? So consultants, when they charge, they normally charge 3 times, right? So if I worked for a company, I would get 3 times what I would be making as my salary.
mm.
And that's how they do their billing. Lawyers, and you might know this, but in the United States, they bill based on what it costs them to put things together the first time, right? Not the 10th time, right?
Yeah.
So it's getting really comfortable and making sure that you love what you're selling and that you're really comfortable with the pricing
Mm,
and
yeah.
that you are really charging your worth.
Yeah. And now that charging your worth would be within the context of what we talked about at the start, right? Which is about those little incremental steps
Mhm,
to gradually build your ability to own what you're worth and to be aligned
mhm.
with that. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. 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 Fantastic. Gosh, we could talk about this for hours. And maybe we'll do an episode 2 at some point. That would be fun. But I'd love to ask you, because a really key thing here is around bringing those principles of the law of attraction and how the universe works and how our brains work into our day-to-day practice. So you've given us some
Mhm.
strategies and tactics around goals and making sure we've got the goals and the goals broken down and that we're focusing on it, setting an intention, pre-paving and focusing on each task, and making sure that when we're doing something, we're looking at the goal and saying, does this actually take me to my goal? Really
Right.
powerful. And then at the same time, you're saying, also make sure that you have a relationship with your money in the sense that you're actually communicating with it and looking at
Mhm.
expenses and looking at your income and asking the question, what other opportunities are there to bring in income, and making sure that the pricing reflects, um, well, I love what you said, love what you're selling, but also that our pricing reflects our value,
Mhm.
and that we're doing that in such a way that we're not, that we're taking the next logical step. We're not making it so much of a jump for us that it's like, oh my goodness, my brain can't handle it. Wobble.
Right.
So there's some brilliant stuff there. Now, you probably have some practices that you use each day. You've already mentioned pre-paving, but some things
Mhm.
that you do each day to help you to stay in that alignment and stay in that vibration and stay focused. Are there any others you'd like to share?
Well, my morning routine, it's a game changer. And it's just about having a morning routine, right? And it includes meditation, it includes journaling, it includes reading.
Hmm.
And reading in the morning, I used to actually, when I would drive to work, I would listen to a book. Um, Really kind of it, and most of the books that I end up reading tend to be some personal development book, getting some other ideas. But it really kind of starts off my day in a completely different, instead of that to-do list. There's a ton of gratitude and appreciation within that framework.
Hmm.
And then it is, part of my journaling is that pre-paving the day.
Yeah.
What is my day? Being very appreciative of my clients, of what's about to happen, you know, the conversations that I'm having. And then even throughout the day, being aware. Right, just like I've got the sticky note, and I keep looking down because the sticky note's there, right? And so I don't even think about it. I'm like, it's right there, right? Um, but that awareness, right, throughout the day, right? If you can do little stops,
Hmm.
whether it's at a 2 hour mark or an hour mark, and check in with yourself and how present you are right then. And if you need to, do a couple deep inhaling breaths that
Hmm.
really just focuses you back and then goes to the next task. And then I started a practice a while ago, and it was actually after I listened to Emily Fletcher. She does meditation 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the midday, to build up. And what I found is that 3 o'clock, that used to be really that I'm done, I'm tired. And granted, I get up at 4 a.m. So 3 o'clock, right? But knowing that there was just that drain of energy, it was okay, what can I do? And when I started doing that, it gave me the ability to refocus,
Yeah.
um, and to be able to take that time. So
Yeah.
now,
That's so re-energizing during the day, whether it's through meditation or through something similar. Yeah.
mhm,
And that refocusing is very powerful. That's a peak performance kind of tool, that one. That's fantastic.
mhm.
Add anything?
Well, I was gonna say, now if you have young kids,
Yeah.
one of the things that I do know, and of course, my daughter's 20 now, so I've never actually done this, but I know that it has worked and it's great, is if you can start to actually get your kids involved in that meditation process,
Yeah.
starting them young, and
Yeah.
that just becoming a part of their lives, and it gives you that chance, right? If they see you recentered, it then helps them to recenter, right?
Absolutely.
And then you become also more aware, as I said. So Right now, I'm staying with my parents, but it brings back all of those childhood things, right? So there's triggers and there's reactions. But if I can stop and if I can breathe and not answer the same way, and if we do that with our kids, we're teaching them a different way of how to focus, how to refocus, how to pull your energy in,
Yeah, yeah.
because they're also energetic beings as well.
Oh, very, very much so, especially younger children. And it's when you think about the way the world is and how it's unfolding, I mean, that's the best gift we can give to our kids, right? Is
Hmm.
teaching them how to stay present and focused and aware, and meditation. Fantastic. Now, there's a very good chance that people might be going, how can we reconnect with with Kristen if we want more? So I'm just going to pop up um, uh, just on the little ticker. Kristen,
Hmm.
do you want to share about your Facebook group?
So I have a Facebook group, or you can just get me on my normal profile. But my Facebook group, I go live every Monday, um, noon Eastern time, and it's Money Talks. Are you listening? Right. So it's going to each week. They're short. They're 20 minutes. It's about the energetics of money. It's about cash flow. It's how to track your expenses, what things you should be tracking. And one of the things I didn't mention is forecasting out, right? Forecast out your expenses so you know what's coming up, so you know what type of revenue you need to come in, is also very helpful in that growth. So each week, that's kind of what I go live with. Besides doing other things throughout, we are actually going to start adding a brainstorming session so that you can come ask your questions. It'll be a kind of a rapid fire, have a quick question, and get answers. And you can I have 25 years of business strategy, cash flow experience,
Yeah.
and I
Wow.
pass along to you.
That is just such a fantastic resource, and I've got to say the Money Talks Are You Listening videos. I find them, and I'm not ignorant when it comes to this stuff either. Not a CFO myself, but I've dabbled in that kind of space, and even so, I always pick up some little lovely nuggets. So that's fantastic. Now, just before we wrap up, and I'll come back to you in just a moment, Kristen, to see if there's any final things. But I just want to actually do a recap. We have covered so much. So just a reminder for all of those watching, if you're going, oh my goodness, my brain is overflowing with stuff, drop the word notes. We will get you a copy of the show notes after this call. We're going to do the guts of what we've talked about. So we've got you covered. Drop the words notes and we'll get that to you. And also, this is the first of a series which conversations with interesting people, real people who are doing real stuff, about the real application of manifestation, how to manifest your goals, how to achieve your goals, how to manifest the kind of life that you want, what people have learned in practice from living it. Right. So it's fun to share those kinds of things, hopefully give you some ideas, some inspiration, and help you to manifest the business and life that brings you joy. So if you want reminders of future ones, just annamckinley.com/contact. You'll be able to drop me a message there. Just send me the word manifestation and I've got you. I'll make sure you get invitations to future calls. So let's do a quick recap. I'll do my best to summarize because there's so much good stuff here. But one of the key things that we've talked about is that money, and we hear this a lot, there's energetics around money, but how do we really leverage the energetics around money? And a really key thing there is expectation. A theme that has come right through this conversation with Kristen is have an expectation around it. And with that expectation, it's about making sure that the next logical step we're taking when it comes to growing our cash flow, growing our income, growing our abundance, that it's the next logical step. In other words, that it's not so big that it makes us not able to connect with it, that it makes us go, ooh, right? So it's got to be a comfortable next step. And that means small increments. Even if you're starting out and everyone's talking about the $10,000 month, Start with small increments and you'll get there faster, is what Kristen shared. You'll get there faster, and the best part is you'll stay there. In terms of the energy of money, there are a few gems which I'd just love to reflect. And one is that money needs to have a sense of purpose. So next time you're procrastinating about doing your accounts or looking at your expenses, remember, actually it's really important to have that relationship with your money and to look at your outgoings as well as your income, and actually even project your outgoings, because when you do, it gives your money a sense of purpose. It gives it a reason to show up. And so you can actually have that conversation with your money, if you like, from that perspective. I'm giving you a sense of meaning, money. Now you can show up. And so it's paying attention to those things. If we're not focusing on money, we're telling it that we don't want it, is really a theme that's come out. So focusing on the money. A beautiful thing in terms of alignment is understanding your zone of genius, and you're in business because you have a zone of genius. You have something that you want to do. So allowing yourself to find the fun in all of it. And there were two dimensions to that alignment. One was making sure you know actually where you're going, that you've got those clear goals, and that you're, instead of just staying focused on the end goal, that each day you're staying focused on doing the things that move towards the goal. Kristen, I loved your sticky note idea. That's an absolute gem. Have a sticky note with the goal, have it right in front of me on my computer screen, so that I can keep checking in. Is what I'm doing right now taking me there? Because if it's not, it's taking you off course. That was beautiful. And of course, the other side of alignment is how you feel, and allowing yourself to feel fun, to feel the joy, because when it's fun, it's not work. And if it starts to feel like work, it means we've lost that alignment, was essentially that. And the last sort of key things there was being really aware and remembering that the vibration, the energy matters, right? So being in that high vibration, being in that vibration of excitement and joy and fun, you can be in that vibration doing anything in any part of your life, even driving past a baseball game, as it turns out, right? But just being in that vibration is putting it out into the energy, and that is going to bring in more of the experiences that are aligned with that, including more money and opportunity in your business. So it's about creating the space for you to actually do things that you love, that bring you joy, that bring you excitement, that bring you fun, and allowing that in. And there's all sorts of other good things there as well. Kristen talked about the importance of our money stories and having a good look at that. So if you're feeling stuck in any areas, have a look at your money stories. So there was a bit of a summary. Do you want to add anything to that quick recap, Kristen? Have I missed anything key?
No, I think that was fantastic. I appreciate that.
We've got it wrapped. So for those of you who are, whether you're watching live or catching the replay, you're welcome to listen again. I'll send out the link to people for the replay, because there's a lot of gems in here, and really, you've got everything you need now. There are two quotes from Kristen I'd like to end with, just to wrap up. You will never attract wealth if you're in worry. And I'm not saying beat yourself up if you're in worry. I'm saying breathe. Kristen talked beautifully about practices in the morning, setting your intention, practicing appreciation and gratitude, breathing. All of these things are great ways for us to get out of money, and we won't attract the wealth if we're in worry. And the other one was remembering that the universe has always got my back, and there's always another client coming. I don't need to worry about how it's going to turn up. I know that they're going to turn up. Did that summarize it?
Definitely.
That's the magic.
And having that trust.
Yeah, it's the trust. Fantastic. Well, I would like to say a huge thank you, Kristen, not just for myself, but on behalf of everyone watching live or on the replay, for sharing your experience and your wisdom with us, and looking forward to maybe even having you on again down the track. Well, there's so much more we could talk about. And you're in your Facebook group. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you, Kristen. And
thank you.
This
has been amazing.
Yeah, it has. It's been fun. Bye for now.